Every major framework, Spring, Angular, .NET, NestJS quietly forces the same design pattern on you. Here's why dependency injection isn't optional, it's structural. Spring uses it, Angular uses it, .NET's built-in container uses it. NestJS copied it almost line for line. That's not a coincidence, and it's not a fad. For completely unrelated ecosystems converged on the same solution because they were all fighting the same fire. Without dependency injection, every class ends up responsible for two jobs, doing its actual work and finding or building every single thing it depends on. That second job sounds small. It isn't. As an application grows, that wiring logic spreads into every constructor, every method, every file, and it never simplifies, it only compounds. Dependency injection exists because that compounding cost is the single most reliable way to make a code base slow down over time. Understand this one pattern, and a huge amount of what frameworks do stops looking like arbitrary ceremony and starts looking like a deliberate answer to a problem you've probably already felt. Picture a simple order service. Inside its constructor, it writes new Postgres repository and new Stripe payment gateway directly. That looks harmless on day one. But now order service owns a hidden decision, exactly which database, exactly which payment provider, hard-coded into its own body. Want to test order service without hitting a real database? You can't. The real repository gets built every time the class does. Want to swap Stripe for a different processor in one region? You're editing order service itself, not a config file. The dependency and the class that uses it are welded together. Change one and you risk breaking the other. This is tight coupling, and it's the exact problem every framework's container was built to eliminate. Here's dependency injection in one sentence. A class declares what it needs and something else, not the class, decides how to provide it. Instead of order service constructing its own Postgres repository, it simply asks for a repository in its constructor signature. Something outside the class hands it the real implementation at startup. The class stops caring where its dependencies come from. It only cares about the contract, the interface it was promised. That single shift, moving the decision of which implementation out of the class and into an external assembler, is the entire idea. Everything else, containers, decorators, annotations, provider modules, is just tooling built to make that one shift convenient at scale. The shift has a name: inversion of control. In a normal program, your code is in charge. It calls out, fetches what it needs, builds what it needs. Under inversion of control, that authority flips. A separate piece of infrastructure, the container, is now in charge of construction, and your class becomes a passive recipient. It stops asking for a repository by building one, and instead just declares that it requires a repository and waits. This feels backwards the first time you see it, which is exactly why the name stuck. But the payoff is real. Your business logic no longer knows or cares about the concrete world it will eventually run in. That knowledge lives in exactly one place instead of scattered across hundreds of classes. That one place is the container. At startup, every framework's container does the same three-step dance: register, resolve, inject. First, register. Every class tells the container what interface it implements and what it needs. Second, resolve. When something asks for an interface, the container works out the full dependency graph in the right order. Third, inject. The container builds the concrete instances and hands them to the constructors automatically. The developer never calls new. Spring's application context, .NET's iService collection, Angular's injector, NestJS's module system, different names, identical job. They're all just automated assemblers, wiring your object graph together once, so every individual class can stay blissfully ignorant of how the rest of the system is built. Not every dependency should live the same length of time, so containers offer life cycles. Singleton means one instance for the entire application, perfect for something stateless and expensive to build, like a configuration loader. Scope means one instance per request, ideal for a database connection that shouldn't leak between users. Transient means a brand new instance every single time it's requested, safest for anything holding mutable state you never want shared. Pick the wrong lifecycle and you get real bugs. A scoped database connection registered as a singleton will silently leak across unrelated requests, corrupting data nobody can explain. The container enforces this discipline automatically once at registration time, instead of every developer remembering it by hand forever. Here's where dependency injection actually pays for itself: testing. Without it, testing order service drags a real database and a real payment gateway into every test because those objects are built inside it. With dependency injection, the constructor just asks for a repository, so in a test, you hand it a fake one instead. An in-memory stub that returns exactly the data your test needs, with zero network calls, zero setup, and zero flakiness. A test suite that used to take 4 minutes because it hit real services now runs in under a second because nothing real is running. This is the actual reason DI became standard, not because it's architecturally elegant, but because it's the difference between a test suite people trust and one people skip. So the pattern repeats everywhere because the problem it solves is universal, not framework specific. Spring uses annotations like auto-wired, .NET wires it straight into ASP.NET's request pipeline via constructor injection. Angular treats it as a first-class part of the component model. NestJS borrows Angular's decorator syntax almost exactly. Different languages, different syntax, same 3 moves underneath. Declare what you need, let a container build it, and keep your classes ignorant of the concrete world around them. Once you can see that pattern once, you'll see it in every framework you touch next, because it isn't a framework feature. It's the answer to a problem every sufficiently large codebase runs into, whether its authors chose Java, C#, TypeScript, or something else entirely. The next time you see a decorator, an annotation, or a constructor full of interfaces instead of concrete classes, you'll know exactly what it's really doing. Thanks for watching.